And we are live.
Let's go. I'm so stoked for this one. Welcome back, people. This is the One of None podcast. I am one of the hosts, Andrew Ganong. Jonah.
And I am the second host, Jonah Casella. Pumped to be back.
Yeah, we're
Round
stoked.
two.
We're stoked. This is a really awesome podcast and some content we're about to talk about, some stuff that we've been really thinking about, stuff that we have struggled with in the past as well. And I think it's going to be good for you moving forward as well, to the listeners out there. First off, we want to thank you. We were not expecting a lot of people to be listening to this podcast.
You guys are MVPs. Absolute.
Yeah. So we had a lot of our friends just through uploading our podcast on Instagram. A lot of people responded and gave us some love on it. We acknowledge it's not the best quality. We acknowledge that there's a lot of stuff we're still working through with the podcast, with our logo, with the quality, with uploading. We're about to be on the Apple podcast as well. Right now, we're only on Spotify. We will also be posting on YouTube as well.
Yeah,
once we start.
I'll be getting the video recording up on YouTube. So if you want to watch us stare at each other and talk, you can pop on there. Give us a sub, give us a like.
Yeah, we're going to be growing this thing a lot pretty soon here. We're stoked to be talking about a really important topic today. But to begin, we did say that we were going to touch on our backgrounds before we start. So I'll start. I'm from Wexford, Pennsylvania. It is right outside of Pittsburgh. I went to a relatively big high school, at least for the Pittsburgh region. Graduated with about 700 kids. Jonah, you want to touch on where you went to?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was kind of in between Pittsburgh and Indiana, PA. I graduated with 97 people, so significantly smaller school than Andrew. Very intimate, small town vibes, but it was good.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how Jonah and I met already. Obviously, we met at school, in college. We were in a lot of classes together. That was kind of when we began to really foster our friendship and put more work into it through just, studying and working together. And it has grown to where it is now because of that. We're going to dive into a lot of the deeper details of our upbringing, of our time in school together. So I'm going to probably leave it at that, Jonah. I don't know if you want to say anything else regarding that, but I think we got plenty more to talk about and how it affected us to where we are right now and how it's going to continue to affect us. Let's just jump right into that, what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. Yeah. So
let's do it.
The topic of today really is talking about the advantages of keeping your circle small. And what we mean by that is keeping your tight-knit group of friends small. There are a ton of advantages to that. Andrew and I had a really tight group of guys that we were friends with. A little bit more background. I was on the rugby team. Andrew lived with the rugby guys. We were always together all the time. And we had a really tight-knit group of friends that were some very, very hardworking people. And also a couple other friends that were in the same classes as us that are doctors now as well. And how that kind of rounded us out, motivated us, and that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to get into today.
This is a topic that I absolutely love because it's a very difficult topic to talk about. A lot of people do not want to acknowledge how big of a factor this plays into their life. They want to blame it on everything else besides this factor. There's a lot of other ones too, but this is a very big one because it's a very difficult topic to implement into your life and to acknowledge. Is you are who you surround yourself with. People don't want to acknowledge that. People want to continue to blame the lack of success or the lack of their work ethic or the lack of their progress in their work and school and their relationships. They want to place every all the blame on something else. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that they are who they surround themselves with. If you surround yourselves with a bunch of people who go out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and you're wondering why you haven't made any progress, or you haven't continued to build the body you want, or the side hustle that you want, or to continue to put the work in, the extra work in to your 9 to 5 job on the weekends, and you're out boozing with your buddies and saying, well, you know what, this is like the time of my life right now. I want to,
Yeah,
I want to have, so this is my time. I'm in my
right.
20s. I want to be having fun right
But
now.
then
I'll,
but then be mad that you don't have the success, you don't have the physique that you want, et
right?
cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on.
Yeah,
you
man.
have to
Like,
be you have to be willing to cut people out of your life.
yep.
That's what we're getting at.
That is exactly what we're getting at.
And it's
And I'm,
tough to do that. It is.
oh my gosh. Jonah, you touched on this last pod that we did. And you said it specifically when we were in the closing the library at 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday night. Guess where everyone else was? And that was college. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, we had our fun in college. Like,
Yeah.
that's not. We're not gonna. We're not
Yeah.
gonna like not acknowledge that we had our fun. But let's be real here. We were still doing that in college on a semi-regular basis, where we were prioritizing other things over that. Talk about that time in college where we had to really put the fun aside
Yeah.
because there was work to be done.
Absolutely. And don't, like he said, don't get us wrong. We had a lot of fun in college. There's a time and a place for it. You have so much time in school. You can hang out with your friends one day on a weekend. You can go to the library and you can get 6 7 hours of grinding done and then go meet up with everybody afterwards and still have a bunch of fun.
Yep.
We're not saying that you have to be a slave to the library or a slave to the work you're doing, but you need to prioritize it. And,
Yep.
and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. I think people hate this topic too because they have a lot of friends they don't want to cut out of their lives. And I'm not saying you have to completely cut them out. I think there's a methodical way of doing it. It's prioritizing other things above the not so important things, like putting in the extra hours for your job or for school, as opposed to blowing that time getting ready and going out and boozing and pre-gaming for 2 hours and then going to the bars right after, staying there until 3 in the morning, and then coming home, getting home, sleep at 5, and you sleep all through the next day.
Right.
And I think people, A, don't want to quit that lifestyle, or B, they don't want to cut out the friends that you
Yeah,
are required to.
absolutely.
That's going to help you exponentially grow in your position at work or school or whatever the case.
Yeah. And it's hard, right? But there's a way to do it that will allow you to move past that friend group or that
Mm-hmm.
one friend without necessarily hurting their feelings. And the way to do that is start surrounding yourself and hanging out and prioritizing time with some of the other friends that are the grinders, that are getting shit done, and
Mm-hmm.
slowly start spending more time with them and averaging less time with the people that aren't on that path, and eventually just kind of let that go. You can always, like we said, hang out with them occasionally,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to surround yourself with the people that have the same mindset that you do or that you want to have. That's what's important. The people like Andrew, that I know he's going to be in the library tonight, so I'm going to go catch a few hours of studying with him and then I'll go out,
Yep.
get the work
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to be so I mean, I don't want to say obsessed. You don't have to become so high strung that you don't have fun. And
Right.
you know, I think that's a big piece of it too. Is I don't want to come off and say, and people who listen to this say, "Oh, you don't go out and have fun." Yeah, I do. I just make sure that there's work done before that, or I make sure that I'm being smart about when I'm going out and when I end my night and how much it's going to affect my next day. I'm thinking about the next day too. I'm not
Exactly.
saying I'm not saying Saturday oh, I'm going to sleep all day. Like it's a recovery day for me. So I'm just going to sleep. No, because I'm missing the gym. I'm missing stuff that I got to do around the apartment. I got tons of working out to do, whatever the
Yeah.
case is.
And the other advantage to surrounding yourself with a group of people that are always grinding, especially when you're in college, which this is like the main time where this example holds true, is for me anyway, it almost felt like if I knew that Andrew was going to be studying all day or going to the gym, and I was like deciding, do I want to go out? Should I be studying? Should I be at the gym right now? It was almost like he wasn't guilting me into doing anything, but I felt guilty for not being there. And that's just like a subliminal thing that happens when you're with people like this all the time, is that when you're not grinding, you feel bad about it. And that's a good thing because that keeps
That's
you on it, you know?
that is a great that is a great compass for yourself.
Yeah.
It's a great compass. And that means that you're starting to pick up on those things and realizing that you're starting to shift a little bit. Those are some messages that are telling you, oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I'm starting to like kind of develop a little bit of an obsession for this or a
Yeah,
passion for this to the
exactly.
point where you realize that like you're off your marker. If
Yeah,
you're not, it's your pulse basically.
for
It's
sure.
your
And for
pulse for
people
sure.
that um, don't have that mindset yet or that lifestyle yet of being like you're really trying to grind, you want to get into that and step into it. For people that are just starting out, taking that first step by yourself is really hard.
Oh yeah.
Finding a person or a group of people that are already into it makes it so much easier to transition into that lifestyle. And although it may feel intimidating at first, just give it time. Surround yourself with those people that are in that lifestyle, and slowly yours will start to evolve and match theirs. And before you know it, that's how you can start to be motivated and do stuff without people around you and by yourself. And that's how you really know that you're passionate about it and you're obsessed with it,
Yeah.
when you're just doing it without anybody else knowing, just because you know that that's what's got to be done.
And then you become a leader for other people in your friend group.
Yeah, that's a really good
So
point.
so maybe like you're shifting into now you're the person who was behind. You were the like the lowest part of the totem pole in your really high functioning, high achieving, successful friend group. But for your other friend group who's used to boozing all the time, now since you're leading them by example, and it translates so well. And I can think of so many people, so many friends of mine. Jonah, how many times have your friends gotten upset with you because you chose to stay in on a Friday night and not go out and booze with them and then waste all day being hungover on
Yeah.
Saturday?
Oh yeah.
And I think this is a good transition because I started out by saying cutting people out who are like that, or at least starting to decrease some of those people when how the frequency of how much you're seeing them is these people will start to weed themselves out, by themselves.
Right.
Exactly what I just
Yeah.
said. Like they will begin to just do it themselves. They will start to distance themselves from you. And instead of taking that as a bad thing, take that as this person isn't adding value to my life in the way that I need them to be in order to progress. So
Exactly.
therefore, they are no longer going to be as much of a presence in my life, right?
Yep.
I think that's a huge part of growth is it doesn't always have to be you cutting them out. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be you severing the friendship. I'm not asking you to sever the friendship or telling you that's the right thing to do. But if you want to continue to grow, and I love this part that I'm going to dive into is people want their expectations for their life are so high and their lifestyle is so piss poor.
Yeah.
That's what I love when people are posting on Instagram like me and my husband or me and my wife one day and it's like a Beamer, a black Beamer and then like a black Bentley and you're out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday boozing. What on how are you ever going to achieve that with the lifestyle that you're living right now? You got to be kidding me. And if you're convinced that you're going to get that lifestyle you're going to get those materialistic things that you want based off your lifestyle, you're in for a very rude awakening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, dude? Like that's what makes me laugh. And I
Yeah.
used to get kind of annoyed by it. But now
Yeah.
I just laugh at it because it's what who are you? And I'm not going to say I'm not even sitting here. I'm not the one that's posting that thing either. I'm not going to
Yeah.
sit here and post that stuff. I keep it in my head. I
That's
keep it as a
exactly.
marker.
Yeah.
You
That's
keep your mouth
exactly.
shut. You put your head down. You grind, and then one day you won't even have to post anything. People are going to see you out and about. People are going to see you with the stuff that you want, if that's what attracts you, and they're going to be like, "Damn,
Yeah.
he didn't say a word about any of that stuff."
It's the people that are silent.
Yep.
It's the people that don't post a lot.
Yep.
It's those people that are the ones that are really getting it done. That's always the case, is what I see too. I totally agree with that. The people that post constantly, especially like this even goes into relationships too, which is a whole different subject. But what they post about is almost never the case of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. Stay silent and work behind the scenes. Your time will come. People will know.
Yeah. And I think it's even cooler to do it that way.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to post much. I
Yeah.
uh I don't know. I could dive into a lot of different people in my life
Yeah,
who
I
have
know. It's,
probably watched from afar, and I don't really care to get into that because I'm not gonna expose some of those people. But
all right, yeah.
I think it's funny, and I think it's good to keep your head down. You have so much more humility that way when you keep your head down and you grind. You don't have
Mhm.
to say anything, and that's so much more impressive too.
Yeah.
When you come to that conclusion, like if I didn't talk to you for a while and I didn't see you posting at all, and then one day I ran into you and you're just driving like a whatever car you ever set your mind out to go get, and I still don't see you post, and I've been following you for ages and you don't ever say a word, and I was like, how are you doing, man? You're like, best I've ever been, as
Yep.
successful as I said I wanted to be.
Yeah, and you
That's
know
what's more
what?
impressive to me too.
Absolutely. And that actually goes into a whole other topic. Social media in general is just so fake.
Yep.
And everybody says that they know that, but they definitely still let it bother them, or they have some unrealistic expectations for their life based off of the fake people they see on social media. Again, those people are not the ones that you should be basing your life off of or looking to for inspiration. This goes to the really young crowd too. If we ever reach that audience, don't go off of what's on social media.
Yeah.
Get a tight knit circle of people. Get somebody that is on the right path behind social media and not on it, and follow them and
Yeah.
get that tight circle going. Like we're talking about, those are the people you want to surround yourself with and take after,
Yeah.
look up to as role models.
Yeah, I'll have some humility here for a second since we're on that. I used to feed into that. I used to feed into that all the time, and part of me still does. I mean, I think we're all pretty drawn towards social media. That's a vessel for us and how we promote ourselves. But
Mm-hmm.
I used to be that way too, where I probably posted unrealistic stuff at one point, or maybe it wasn't unrealistic, but it created a sense in other people of like
Persona.
mystery, or like a different persona of who I really was. And then the past year when I moved down to Jacksonville was whenever I said to myself, I actually deleted social media for like 5, 6 months. And I said to myself, I don't want to be that person. I am who I am. You're going to see the real me if you see me in person.
Yeah,
There's
I feel like
no,
that's also a maturity thing too, because we all did
yeah,
that at one point.
for sure.
But I'm with you. In the last, I don't even know how many years, I've just stopped caring about that. And maybe part of that is because I was also in a serious relationship,
Hmm.
so I just didn't care.
Yeah, that
You know
definitely,
what people thought. I wasn't trying to impress anybody, I guess. But
yeah,
no, we're all human. You know, we do that at some point. But you
yeah,
gotta move on from it eventually.
yep. Now, I also wanted to say something. I think we got into some good content about this stuff, but I wanted to touch on who who's in this circle, the
Mm-hmm.
small circle you want to have, and who is potentially in a little bit bigger of a circle that might be. killing part of your success or not helping foster growth in you. And it's going to be a tough conversation, but it's these people that I'm talking about could potentially be family too. Now,
Yeah.
I haven't experienced it that much, but I felt at times certain individuals, not in my immediate family, but
Mhm.
certain individuals that showed a little bit of lack of support, and it's a very real thing. Just because they're family, just because they're blood does not mean that they want what's best for you. You'd like to think that.
Yeah.
Now, I think that the percentage of the time that it's family is a lot far less than the friend
Yeah, you would hope
scenario.
so.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you would hope. And I think it's in the grand scheme of things is negligible that percentage, but I still think that it's prevalent, and I
Mhm.
think it's in a lot of people's lives. Is and it's not in the way that you think. It's not in the way that they're being so outright obvious that they're saying, "I don't want what's right for you." I think it's the people in your family who are saying, I don't know, I think you should probably hold off on that for a little bit. Or you know what, maybe, maybe that's not what's best for you right now. Maybe you try and revisit that in a little bit, as
Hmm.
opposed to pushing you and saying, hey, like, I think you should just do it. Who cares if you fail? We're here to support you if you do fail.
That's
But
interesting. Yeah.
if you never start, if you don't put stuff out there, if you don't try and go get what you want now, when are you ever going to do it?
Yeah, that's interesting because I never thought about that. And maybe
Yeah.
that's because I've been lucky enough to have such support from
Right.
my family, even like extended family, but especially like both parents, awesome, both parents, huge support. Um, Not even a question from them. It was never even a question from them for me, which was great. And even my extended family, whether they, I don't, I never got the vibe that they had anything other than um, high regard, and I don't know if they even thought a second of it. They were just like, "Yep, that's what he's doing. He's got it," sort of thing. But that's an interesting point, and I'm sure that you're right that there is family out there that are that's kind of ruthless, but just not as supportive towards some people for one reason or another.
Yeah, and I don't want it to. That's my bad if I made it come off as ruthless because I don't want it to come off that way. But it's a very real thing. I
No,
think,
yeah, I think you're totally right.
I think part of it can come, and it's not outright, like I said, where someone's like, you are never going to be anything in this life. I'm not saying that.
Hmm.
I'm saying the subtleties
Just not
of
getting like the full like support from a
yeah,
family member or something. No, I get what you're saying. It
and
doesn't have to be
maybe
very obvious, but if it's not like they're saying, "Hey, like I'm pumped for you. Can't wait to see how you do." They just don't say anything, and that's
yeah,
telling enough. Yeah.
yeah, or yeah, exactly. Or it's maybe it's stemming from them not taking the leap of faith on their career or whatever path that they want to go down. And
Hmm.
they're seeing you do it. And then they're like, oh, damn. Like maybe,
Yeah.
how that, cause like, I think we all get
Yeah.
jealous a little bit sometimes when we see someone doing something that we wish we would have done.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're,
That's an
we're human.
inherent feeling. I think very normal human emotion to feel that way.
Definitely. Yeah.
But to continue down that path and not be supportive because of it, that's like my staff wanting to grow in our clinic and one of my PTs saying, I want to be a clinic manager one day. And me saying, no, you're never going to get there, man. I would just stick to being a PT,
Or you just
you
don't say
know,
anything. You
or
just
I don't
like,
say anything at all,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
That would be wrong of me because
Yeah.
I want my people underneath me to grow. I want my PTs to outperform me. I want them to replace me because I want to replace the person above me. I want to replace my boss one day.
Yeah.
And then I want to be the owner of that, right? But it would be wrong of me if I didn't support the people underneath me or the people wanting to pursue more because I was worried or threatened by what their aspirations were, if that
Sure.
makes any sense.
Exactly. Yeah. The
So,
insecurity and jealousy of that
yeah, and that's not
because
being
you
a
didn't take
leader
the step.
either,
No,
Jonah, and
absolutely not.
I think you're a great leader in that. And I think no matter what anyone says you could grab someone random that you just met, and I know you'd be like, dude, that's badass. Like, I want you to get after it, even if it's something, if it's in the exact same field that you're in, and the whatever your aspirations are, and he's gunning for the same thing. I know you're going to be competitive about it, but I know you're going to be real
Yeah.
and be like, I wish you the best. Like, I want you to continue to do that. However, I can
Yeah.
help you, I will help you. And
And
that's what's
and
being a
I
leader.
and I love that. And you should love that, especially if that person is like in your clinic with you or you work
Yeah.
with them, because then if you really care about it, you're going to be like, all right, like check that. I'm going to hang with this guy because I want the same thing. And
Yep.
so I'm only going to get better by being with this person who's trying to one up me.
Thank you.
And so,
That ties in exactly what we're talking about today. That is cultivating a great circle of people
mhm,
that yields success, overall growth and progression for everyone involved. That is what is going to make a team, it's going to make a friend group, it's going to make whatever circle you're involved in continue to grow, because then you're a circle of winners, and that's what you
yeah,
want. I want my
you went,
people, whether
yeah,
it's my friends, I want people who, whether it's on my team in our clinic here in Riverside and Jacksonville, whether it's your clinic in Pennsylvania, whether it's my family doing big things, you should only want what's best for your team. That is what's going to cultivate a great team and create success in the long run. And
yeah,
if you are not very smart about who you choose to be in that friend group, or at least how you protect your peace amongst your friend groups, and how much you invest your time into different ones, it's going to potentially take away good success from you
yeah,
and in
absolutely.
growth.
Competition is good.
Yes.
People nowadays, I feel like, want to hide from that or stray away from that because it's uncomfortable.
Yep.
And we're not talking about, competition where you don't like the other person and that's why you're competitive. It's like we just said, you want that person to be just as successful as you are. And so, because of that, knowing that they're going to be working their ass off, grinding, that's who you're going to surround yourself with because you want to be on that same ride,
Yeah.
right there with them, grinding away, pushing each other. It's just like he's saying, if you're a team and you're on a football team and you're practicing against each other, you know, practice how you play, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be pushing the guy on the other side. You want to be pushing the guy who's fighting for your job and him pushing you because it's only going to make each other better. And then as a collective, as you know, in that setting, you're also going to be better as well. So
Yeah.
you got to surround yourself with the people that are willing to be a little bit competitive with one another
Yeah.
because it's a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that is ultimately what everyone wants in a team. And if you're not in that same mindset, you might be the person that's dragging the rest of the team
Yeah.
if you don't understand that mindset. And that's
Hmm.
okay. And I think that's a mindset that can be matured over time, and can, if you surround yourself with the right people and you're in the right group, you can change that. I think that I used to be, dude, I'll talk from experience from IUP, and you might not feel this way because you're too nice to say it. But I felt in our friend group, in terms of our study group, of, who I'm talking about, I was I came I felt like I was the lowest. I felt like I was the one that was the least. I was a person who was maybe not the hardest worker out of everyone. I was the At least initially, I've developed my work ethic, trust me, but I think early on I was one of the people who was at the lowest. I was the one kind of dragging the team, and I needed to pick my stuff up, but it was through healthy interaction with everyone on that team and pushing me and giving me the support that I needed too. That's what helped me kind of make my way back up to that, where I could be more of a threat in our friend group, and I started to really feel like I was supporting that group of people,
Yeah.
and it
Because,
supported my own habits too,
yeah,
of
right.
course. But
And, you know, granted, it's not like you were some super high achieving people by any means,
yeah,
but no, I understand what you're saying. In a group of people, especially in that setting where the people you're surrounded with are eventually going to be doctors one day, you don't want to be the one that is relying on them, asking them to constantly help explain things and get you by, sort of, because there was definitely people that, not the ones in our friend group, but the ones in our class and or in our labs that were basically piggybacking off of people like us that were actually carrying and grinding
Mm-hmm.
that now are not doctors because of that. But getting back to that, you want to be you want to be able to contribute and help the other people in your team.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to be able to grow by doing that. So that's you have a lot of humility saying that, but it didn't take you long either to be a huge contributing factor. And we had a really good group of people to study with.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We had some really smart people that we could bounce ideas off of who are also grinders in the same way. We were lucky to have those people. Well, lucky's a shit word because we put those people in our group. It wasn't luck.
Yeah, we
We
attracted those
cultivated that
people.
group.
Yeah, we definitely cultivated that group. And I think we could probably I'm going to give them a little preface of an upcoming episode, and it talks a little bit about the people you spend your time with. And it's called the rule of 33%. I'm going to leave it at that. I know you and I have talked about that before, but it tells you a lot about who you
Mm-hmm.
should be spending your time with, and it helps you become a competitor or a competitive leader, someone who is a mentor to others. It helps keep you grounded, the and competitive at that, and people who are the same level as you, excuse me. And it also can be for someone who you look up to, where you're a mentee essentially, and you should be spending time with each of those groups. You should be mentoring, you should be a mentee, and you should be you know help or working alongside people, spending time with people who are at the same level as you. And I was talking to someone about this yesterday. They asked me who where they thought I found them in that group, and I said all three. And that's going to happen a lot. I look at
Mm-hmm.
you, Jonah, and I say that too. I think you're in all three. I think in some ways I can mentor you in things, vice versa, and I think in a lot of ways we compete at the same level in a lot of stuff, which is
Yeah,
great. And
absolutely.
it's healthy for that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be something we touch on in the future too, the rule of 33%. So
Yeah.
that's a whole other topic,
Yeah. And to
you
kind of
know.
go off of that about keeping the circle tight and surrounding yourself with people that are always on that grind.
Mm-hmm.
The days that I don't feel like going to the gym after working all day long, I know that this MFer is at the gym. And I'm like, I'm going to the gym because I know Andrew's at the gym. And those are the people that you want to be with right there.
Yeah.
The people that you know that are at least on a high percentage of days grinding and doing what they need to get done because then you could pull from that energy, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that about you because I know that you're on it.
Consistency, baby. That's all it is.
Consistency is huge. Yeah.
Showing up. I saw this thing on. I don't want to dive into this because these are just so many topics we could
I
talk
know.
about.
I know.
It's going to be
Yeah.
coming.
I love it.
Dana White, one I saw an interview. He goes, "I tell this to my kids all the time. You just show up. You're out competing everyone right now. No one wants to work nowadays. That's a whole other topic
Yeah. I
about
know.
not wanting to work. But thankfully, we have a
No.
friend group and a
Yeah.
small circle that's cut out and cut from the same cloth. And I think we should end on that. I think that's a great segue. This
Yeah.
is super important for you to listen to. And I'm not going to act like I know everything regarding this. I'm still working through these things, but I acknowledge that there are people holding me back.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you can take it as seriously or you take it as a joke if you want to. I don't care what you do with this stuff, but think about it. Figure out in
Yeah.
your life who is holding you back, and it might be someone you're very close with, and that's
Yeah.
a rude awakening for you. So start to pick and choose who you spend more or less with your
Yeah.
time with, and cultivate a really solid group in anywhere that you're at, because
Yeah.
these are the people that are going to exponentially help you in your growth as an individual, in your mindset, physical, whether it's you want to lose weight or you want to gain a bunch of muscle. There are different people that can help you achieve those things. It's very difficult to do it alone. You can do it alone, but it's a lot easier when you can work alongside somebody who has a common goal as you, or someone who's above you that can help you.
Yeah.
And I think your tight circle is very important.
Absolutely. And the way I like to think about it personally is you have your tight inner circle of a few people that you know you can always rely on, the people that are always grinding that we're talking about. And then you have these kind of outer layers of people in your life that, you can devote time to them, but you're prioritizing the grind and the people that are in that lifestyle. But that doesn't mean that you can't be with these other people, right? You can devote a day here and there to spend with this person, to golf with this person, to go out and have a beer with this person, right?
Yep.
We're human, we can do that. But you have to separate and prioritize the right people in your life into an inner group. I think that's really important. And yeah, we can kind of pivot off of that and be done here soon. One thing I did want to talk about, and Andrew, you can definitely talk about whatever else you want to before we end here. Ian, my brother, had a really interesting point that little segment we can do, which I love. I love this idea. So we're gonna get into, for me, this is a book that I love, Extreme Ownership
Yep.
by, excuse me, Leif Babin, Jocko Willink. If you haven't heard of them, you need to look them up. Jocko has a really great podcast. They're ex-Navy SEALs, and this book talks about how to take ownership of your life, which is kind of a lot about the general idea of what we're talking about, taking ownership of your life and stop making excuses for why things aren't going the way that you want them to go. Start surrounding yourself with the people that you should surround yourself with, and take ownership of your life and start making some changes. It's a really great book. Highly recommend.
I love that. I love that you did that. I know we were talking about potentially doing that, so I'm happy you threw that in there. We can make that a regular segment on this podcast where we kind of dive into a book that we've read, a book that we're currently reading that we think is going to help cultivate a great mindset, take extreme ownership in Jonah's case, and help you become the person that you want to become. Whether it's developing the mindsets for that, the habits, the routines, the lifestyle. I think that's great that we talked on, or that you had touched on that before we left. But yeah, people, thank you again for listening. We appreciate everything. We appreciate if you listen for 5 minutes, if you listen through the entire thing. We try and make these things relatively short. They can be your listen to or on your ride to work, get you a little amped up. It's hard for me to sleep after these, Jonah.
I know.
Dude, I'm like about to run through a brick wall right now because I love talking about this stuff.
I
It
know.
makes me so
It
amped
took me
up.
a while to go to sleep after the last one.
Yeah. And especially with all the love we've been getting on the pod,
Yeah,
keep love coming.
you guys have been awesome. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys. Please keep listening.
Yep.
It means a lot to us.
Keep listening. And the only way that we're really going to continue to push out this podcast is through social media. We're going to post on YouTube, like I had mentioned previously. We're going to be posting on Apple Podcasts pretty soon here. We're working through the kinks still, so be patient with us. We appreciate you being honest with us too, because we ask that you provide us feedback on these things. Ultimately, we want to provide the best experience for you and make it the highest quality we
Yeah.
possibly can. So
Please,
continue to
please.
give us
Give us the
on
feedback.
this stuff.
We
Yep.
love that. It's awesome.
Yeah. And take ownership. Like Jonah said, take ownership of your friend group, take ownership of your life. Stop getting in a rut and being in a rut. Find the people that are toxic to your life or not providing value. Create and cultivate a great friend group that's going to help you get to where you want to get. I'm done. Jonah, love talking to you as always, man.
Yes,
We're going to
sir.
be catching up pretty
As
soon
always.
here.
Love you,
Be
brother.
looking out. Love you, man. Be looking out for the next pod. Man, I'm about to run through a brick wall. We hope you are too.
Let's go.
Yeah, enjoy whatever the rest of the day you have, or if you're listening to this in the morning, enjoy your morning with this
Get
cup of
after it
coffee.
today.
Hopefully you're getting after it. And we'll be talking to you guys soon. So, all right.
Till next time.
Yep.
Later.